welcome to the Waffle Flower channel. It's Shannon here, and today I am sharing how to make this cute little valentine that is perfect for a classroom valentine exchange, and it even houses a little treat. I'm using pink, red cardstock and vellum to make these valentines. I'm starting with the pink and red cardstock, and I'm going to use the Lacy Layers right there, the 5x7 dies, and I'm using that die right there, that smaller rectangle stitch die, to cut out my valentines. So I cut out half of them in pink that I needed and half of them in red. And now that I have those cut, I'm going to stamp the to and from on the back of the card. I'm using the enveloper little birdie set. I'm using the to and from and the lines from that stamp set. I'm going to get out my Misty here. So this Misty I'm going to use a lot today because it's really handy when you're mass producing something, which I am today. So I'm going to grab my VersaFine Black Onyx ink and turn over my little cards here and just ink up the to and from in the lines and stamp it excuse me, on my card. I did cut, if you notice, the lines are further, there's a bigger gap between the two lines. I did cut those. I did that on purpose because my daughter is 4 and I wanted her to write her name, and I knew that little space was not going to be enough, so I cut those so she had room to write her name in the from spot. Okay. And I'm going to do one more here. So you see I've got it all lined up. I've got the to and from over in the corner because I need my other two corners with the nice 90-degree corner edge. I need those for my other part stamping, but I'm just using it, lining it up with the edge of my mouse pad and stamping the to and from. So there I have them all stamped. I did find out really quickly though that I did have to actually clear emboss those. I just did that because my daughter wrote her name on one and smeared the ink right away, so I just went ahead and clear embossed mine. So if you see them kind of shiny, that's why. But you don't have to do that. That's just because I was anxious to get this done. So you see she wrote her name on there, and I wrote the students, her classmates' names on all the cards for her. So we have that part all done, because once we get to the gem, we're going to have a hard time doing that. So here I've got the Gemstone set, and I have already got my Misty, all the stamps that I'm using mounted. I'm going to stamp the front of the card first with the burst and the little heart gemstone. So I'm going to pull out I'm using the pink one first, and I'm going to use my Pleasure ink. I'm going to pull it out over here, see my Pleasure, and I'm going to ink up that burst and that little heart gem in my Pleasure ink. And then I'll stamp it here, and I do stamp it twice just so I can get a nice intense red, and just to make sure I get good coverage. If you were going for mass production though, the best way to do this is to stamp all of your pinks, the burst and the heart first before you move on to the sentiment, which is what I'm going to do next. So I'm moving on to the sentiment, which is You're a Gem. And I'm just going to do that, ink that up in VersaFine. So I've also got Your Gem, my sentiment, loaded up in the bottom corner. So all I have to do is line my little card right up into that 90-degree corner. And it makes just mass production really, really simple and easy. Granted, you do not have to have a Misty to do this. Nothing that I did here has to be lined up perfectly, which is nice. So if you did want to just use your blocks, you could definitely do this with your acrylic blocks. I don't have anything that has to be lined up perfectly, so the only thing is if you want to do like double stamping. Okay, so here I've got the red. Now granted, if you were doing this mass production, I suggest you do all your pinks first, do that burst and that heart, and then move on to the red and do the burst and the heart in your your pigment ink. Now because I want a lighter color to show up on a darker cardstock, I need to use pigment ink. So I've got Colorbox Rose ink here, and I'm inking up the burst and the heart in this Colorbox Rose. And because pigment inks, it's just harder to show up on these darker cardstocks, I'm going to have to ink this up twice for sure, just to make sure that that burst and that heart is visible. Now this will be, because it's pigment ink, just like the VersaFine Onyx Black, it's going to be wetter longer. It takes longer to dry. So you're just going to have to be careful when you're handling these with the pigment ink. Just let them dry first. So before I'm moving straight on to doing my sentiment, which I suggest if you're mass producing these to do all your pinks do all your reds first, then do all your pinks first, and then do your sentiment on all of your Valentines last. But it's better to let that dry if you can. Let that pigment ink rose dry first, just so you don't have to worry about smudging or anything while you're doing the sentiment. Okay, so now we're on to the diamond. I've got the 3D diamond die here and the vellum, and I went ahead and cut out all of my vellum diamonds, and now I'm going to show you. I drew the lines on here so you could see it better. There's 3 points right there, which I did in red, that I fold inside. So I've got my diamond turned upside down here, and I'm folding those. So they're folded inside. Now I'm showing the line here that I'm folding next. It goes kind of across the middle. It's not a straight line exactly, but if you kind of follow the curve and the score line that is imprinted in the vellum, it's pretty easy to make that fold, even though it's not a perfectly straight fold. And now I'm going to do the one that crisscrosses over that. It's pair right there. And this is just these tips I'm showing you about these diamonds are just what I found after folding several diamonds that made folding the diamond the easiest. It's really easy to do, but when you mass produce them, you find like your little shortcuts. So now I'm going to fold that length right there. Again, it's not a perfectly straight line, but it's pretty close, and you just kind of follow the curve from end to end. And then I'm going to do its pair, which is right over on the other side there. Next, I'm going to start folding. I'm just showing you because I realized I forgot to show you. Next, I'm going to start folding the inner corners. Now this is a little tricky because you don't want to go all the way across. So you want to stop at the center point. So you want to be careful when you're folding this to stop right there at that center point. And I'm doing that on all of these. Folding it in and trying to stop at the center. That's the only tricky part here, but folding these really does make your diamond look a lot crisper and stronger, so it's definitely worth it. So I'm just going to stop. There's my last point. I'm just going to stop right there at the middle and do that one there too. And I'm actually almost done. Now I just have to do these points right here. So I like to do the center one first. So let's fold that up. And this is in real time, so it's not taking, I haven't sped this up at all, so it's not taking too long really. And then folding there. So I'm starting at the center one, center line right there for that corner. And then I'll fold the other outer sides. Now, if this is looking like too much for you, you could definitely do the same design minus the 3D diamond and get like those, what are those? Those ring pops, you know, with the little, there's a ring, plastic ring, and it has little, like a lollipop that looks like a diamond or a gemstone. You could attach that to the card, just punch some holes, put a string around it, and tie it in the back, and then you can do it with minus the diamond. But I just really think this 3D diamond is so cool, and I like the idea that you can put a little treat inside when you're all done. And the vellum just makes it more fun because the kids can kind of see it inside there. So I went ahead and I made them all. I loved them. Okay, so I'm almost done. I've got one more corner, one more side here, and then I'll have to do the back, and then I'm done. So it really doesn't take too long. I enjoyed folding them too because I could just sit and watch TV and kind of fold them, and it was relaxing. I could sit down at the couch versus sitting at my little craft table. folding across the middle, that back, and then I'll do those two little corner flaps there. Fold those down. And then all my folding is done. So just a reminder, I started, you can kind of see those red lines there. I started those fold inward, and I did those first, and then I did all the outer folds after that. I found that to work the best, especially to get those folds that fold inside. Okay, so it's all done. So here's another one that I did with no lines, because I'm not going to bother taping that one since I'm not going to use it. And I'm just showing you where I taped on the one that I drew lines. So I'm taping these with I'm using score tape here. So I've got all my tape on here. So this is better. Now you can see where I taped. And I'm going to start right here, and kind of this one right here will really make it look like a diamond right away when I do these two flaps right here. Pull out the score tape backing off of both those and do them at once. Just lining them up with that center point. Just like that, really easy. And then there's a flap there and those two little corners. So I'm going to adhere that flap down onto those corners. So I'm going to take that tape off of those little corners there. They'll take that backing off. And then I will push those corners in a little bit, and then fold that flap down there. There you go. And I got that down. So the next two pieces of score tape are the tape that actually hold the diamond onto the card. So I'm not going to take those off yet until I fill my diamond up with my treat. So I just got a little chocolate here. It's that Rolos, you know, the kind with the caramel inside. Those fit inside really nice. So I put my little candy in there, and I'm pulling off the backing now that I have on the score tape. My last two pieces. I'm going to kind of hold that in with my finger, that candy in, and then I will move it in place, and kind of trap that candy inside there with the card. So there, it's stuck on there. Just do extra pressure to adhere it. Make sure I got it stuck on there. But that score tape holds that little candy in there, no problem. And there it is. That one's done. That's the red one. I did put the pink one in the red cards, and now I'm going to put the red candy on the pink cards. So put that candy in there. And again, I'm going to pull that backing off of the corners. And since my daughter did her name on all the froms, and I did all the twos already, all the other students' names, after I put these diamonds on, this is done. And I'm sticking that on there, and that's it. So you can kind of see that candy kind of poking through, which I wanted to make sure that the white would have been really pretty too on these cards, but I wanted to make sure I used the vellum so the kids could kind of see, because they are only like 4 and 5, so that way they can see that there's something in there and they can get it out. So if you want any more product info, please visit waffleflower.com, and you can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook for more creative ideas. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.